For over a decade, Eustace Conway was the face of survival on mountain men, living a life most people couldn't imagine. The man who walked away from civilization at 17 to live in a tipi became a legend. He built an empire in the wilderness with nothing but his bare hands and sheer determination. But then, without warning, he vanished from the show that made him famous. No explanation, no farewell, just gone. What really happened to the last American man? The truth involves government persecution, devastating loss, and choices that shocked even his most loyal fans. Eustace Conway wasn't playing a character for television. This was a man who genuinely rejected modern society before most people even knew what off-grid living meant. At just 12 years old, he survived alone in the mountains for a week with nothing. By 17, he'd moved into an Indian teepee and wouldn't sleep under a conventional roof for 17 winters. He wore only buckskin clothes he made himself and fashioned every tool by hand. His adventures read like fiction. He canoed 1,000 miles down the Mississippi at 18. Then he walked the entire Appalachian Trail, all 2,000 miles of it. He kayaked through Alaskan waters surrounded by icebergs and whales. He lived with indigenous tribes in Guatemala, learning ancient survival techniques that most people have forgotten existed. At 30, a renowned wildlife artist told him he was the most interesting man she'd ever met. Eventually, Eustace found his paradise in North Carolina's Blue Ridge Mountains. He purchased what would become Turtle Island Preserve, starting with just 30 acres and expanding it to over 1,000. This wasn't just land to him, it was a mission, a living classroom where he could teach people the skills their ancestors knew by heart. For decades, he ran educational camps for children and adults, showing them how to live in harmony with nature rather than against it. When Mountain Men premiered in 2012, viewers were captivated. Here was someone actually living the life everyone fantasized about during their worst commute. But what the cameras showed was only part of his story. Everything Eustace built nearly collapsed in November 2012. Watauga County officials showed up at Turtle Island after seeing him on Mountain Men. And what happened next was almost unbelievable. They ordered the entire preserve shut down immediately. The reason? Building code violations. Eustace's traditional structures, built using methods that had worked for centuries, suddenly became illegal overnight. The infractions would be laughable if they weren't so serious. Officials cited him because his interns' living quarters had no electricity or running water and lacked a sprinkler system. That living quarter? It was his doghouse. They were literally demanding his dog's home meet modern building codes. They rejected his rock foundations, insisting on cement or cinder blocks instead. When Eustace pointed out that rock-solid foundation exists as a phrase for a reason, they didn't care. For nearly a year, Turtle Island couldn't operate. No camps, no educational programs, no income. Eustace was hemorrhaging money trying to comply with regulations that contradicted everything his preserve represented. His usually bright smile faded as the financial pressure mounted. The county demanded he either modernize every building or tear them all down. Decades of work faced destruction because bureaucrats couldn't accept that people might want to learn traditional building methods. But Eustace fought back. Students and faculty from Appalachian State rallied behind him, marching to the county health department in protest. The case gained national attention, highlighting the absurdity of forcing historical preservation sites to meet contemporary codes. Finally, in June 2013, the North Carolina General Assembly passed special legislation exempting primitive camps from standard building requirements. Eustace had won, but the battle had taken its toll. July 24, 2017 started like any other summer day at Turtle Island. Girls' camp was in full session. Then everything stopped. Preston Roberts, Eustace's best friend and right-hand man for over 3 decades, took his last breath at 3:30 that afternoon. He was only 60 years old. Preston had discovered an inoperable tumor on his liver just 3 weeks earlier. 3 weeks. That's all the warning they got. The tumor blocked blood flow and oxygen to his organs, and there was nothing doctors could do. The progression was so rapid that Preston had been teaching at boys' camp mere days before his diagnosis. He passed peacefully in his wife Kathleen's arms, surrounded by family. But the suddenness left everyone reeling. The two men had met back in 1982, bonding immediately over their shared love of the wilderness. They'd ridden horses across the Carolinas together and made cross-country buggy trips that became the stuff of legend. Preston wasn't just Eustace's business partner at Turtle Island. He was the co-founder, the visionary who helped turn raw mountain land into an educational preserve. For 6 seasons on Mountain Men, viewers watched their friendship, seeing how two men could work in perfect harmony even in the harshest conditions. When Season 7 premiered without Preston, the change was devastating to watch. Eustace struggled to manage their lumber business alone, unable to meet orders without his partner. The grief was written all over his face in every scene. Preston's absence left what Turtle Island's official statement called a chasm in our community. Some losses you never recover from, and this was clearly one of them. For 10 seasons, Eustace Conway was mountain men's most recognizable face. Then, without warning, he disappeared. His last appearance came in summer 2023, and by the time Season 13 rolled around, his name was gone from the official cast list completely. No announcement, no farewell episode, nothing. The History Channel went silent when asked whether he remained under contract or had plans to return. Fans immediately started speculating. Some thought personal reasons drove his departure. Others suspected contractual disputes or creative differences with producers. A few wondered if the physical demands of filming while maintaining Turtle Island had finally become too much. After all, the man was in his 60s now, still performing backbreaking labor daily while camera crews documented his every move. But here's what made his absence even stranger. Eustace never addressed it publicly. For someone who'd spent a decade sharing his life with millions of viewers, the silence felt deliberate. Was he done with reality television entirely? Had something happened behind the scenes that viewers would never know about? The unanswered questions only fueled more speculation. Meanwhile, Turtle Island continued operating. His Instagram showed he was still there, still teaching, still living the lifestyle he'd championed for 40 years. Educational programs ran as scheduled. The preserve's Facebook page stayed active, promoting events and workshops. Everything appeared normal on the surface, yet his television career had ended without explanation. Some fans held out hope he'd return for Season 14. Others accepted that his chapter on Mountain Men had closed, but nobody really knew what happened, and Eustace wasn't talking. The mystery deepened with every passing season where his face remained absent from the screen. While fans wondered about his television absence, Eustace was quietly building something nobody saw coming: an Airbnb empire. The man who'd spent decades preaching about rejecting materialism and modern conveniences was now flipping homes and renting them to tourists. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. His Instagram bio told the story. Check out my custom Appalachian Heritage Airbnb rentals below. He'd created an entire separate account dedicated to showcasing his properties. These weren't primitive camping experiences or rustic cabins. They were fully renovated homes with all the modern amenities he'd spent his life avoiding. Some listings commanded $250 per night, with hundreds of positive reviews from satisfied guests. The business model made financial sense. Turtle Island's legal battles and Preston's death had likely strained resources significantly. Educational camps provided income, but real estate offered stability and passive revenue. Still, watching the last American man become a property investor felt like watching a punk rocker sell out for a corporate sponsorship. Eustace promoted the rentals as showcasing Appalachian heritage and featuring his custom craftsmanship. In some ways, this represented an evolution rather than a contradiction. He was still teaching appreciation for mountain culture, just through a more profitable channel. But critics questioned whether someone running multiple Airbnbs could still claim moral authority about sustainable, simple living. The timing aligned perfectly with his Mountain Men exit. Perhaps he'd decided reality television wasn't worth the hassle anymore. Real estate provided better income with less intrusion. Or maybe he'd simply recognized that financial security required adapting to markets rather than fighting them. Either way, the primitive lifestyle purist had entered modern capitalism headfirst. Then came Hurricane Helene in 2024, and Eustace made choices that stunned even his supporters. The storm devastated western North Carolina, killing over 100 people. In the aftermath, conspiracy theories spread rapidly online, claiming officials were covering up the true death toll. Eustace became one of the most prominent voices pushing these debunked claims. His platform gave these falsehoods massive reach. With tens of thousands of followers built through Mountain Men fame, his posts spread far beyond North Carolina. He shared claims that authorities were hiding bodies and suppressing information. None of it was true, but the damage was done. Local officials trying to coordinate legitimate relief efforts had to waste time fighting misinformation instead. This wasn't completely out of character. Eustace had always been skeptical of government, which made sense given his building code battles. But there's a difference between questioning regulations and spreading conspiracy theories during a crisis. People needed accurate information to stay safe and find resources. Instead, they got paranoia and distrust. His political evolution had been gradual. In 2023, he'd endorsed Shiva Ayyadurai for president, a conspiracy theorist known for spreading falsehoods about vaccines and elections. Now he was using that same playbook with hurricane relief. The man who'd inspired thousands to reconnect with nature was dividing communities with dangerous misinformation. Carolina Public Press and other outlets debunked his claims thoroughly, but believers didn't care about fact-checking. They trusted Eustace, the authentic mountain man who'd never sold out, except he had sold out, just not in the way anyone expected. He'd traded credibility earned over decades for clicks and engagement in the conspiracy theory economy. So where does the last American man stand today? The answer is complicated. Turtle Island Preserve still operates, hosting educational programs and events throughout the year. Eustace remains there, living the lifestyle he's championed since his 20s. He still teaches primitive skills and promotes sustainable living. In that sense, nothing has changed. But everything else has shifted dramatically. His television career appears finished, ending without closure or explanation. His real estate ventures continue growing, creating passive income that contradicts his simple living philosophy. His reputation took serious damage from spreading conspiracy theories during a natural disaster. The inspiring figure who appeared in Elizabeth Gilbert's book has become a polarizing personality, who many former supporters no longer recognize. Perhaps the truth is that Eustace Conway was always more complex than the character mountain men portrayed. Reality television demands simplification, turning nuanced people into digestible archetypes. The show needed a pure wilderness hero, so that's what viewers got. But real humans contain contradictions. Someone can genuinely love nature while also needing financial security. They can distrust government overreach while still being wrong about specific conspiracies. Now in his 60s, maybe Eustace simply evolved past the image others had created for him. The Airbnb properties fund Turtle Island's mission. His mountain men exit freed him from constant filming. Even his controversial statements reflect genuine beliefs, however misguided. He's living exactly as he chooses, which was always his philosophy. The last American man hasn't disappeared. He's just refusing to be the legend everyone expected him to remain. Whether that's admirable independence or disappointing hypocrisy depends entirely on who you ask.